Good evening to everyone. All right. Oh, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have had the great pleasure today to go to Lawrence High School, to go to Free State High School. We had the students from the academy come over and join the Lawrence High School assemblies. We have spoken to over 3,000 students today, and upwards to 400 staff members. So I do believe that deserves a round of applause today. Today we're here because we want to save lives. And we want to change lives for what we are seeing and experiencing, not only in our schools, but also in our community. My name is Dr. Cynthia Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Inclusion, Engagement, and Belonging here in Lawrence Public Schools. So it is my honor to be a part of this collaborative effort. If you look at this illustrious team that is seated before you, I want you to know that they have taken out time. How often can we have the police chief for an entire day? How often can we have the FBI, all the other members are here. We have the DA here. We have the assistant DA, deputy, thank you, I'm gonna get the right name as well. We have engaged Douglas County. We have our partners that work with us every single day, and that's our SROs. We've had them all day because it was that important to share this message of hope. We also have had our supervisor of our SROs. We have Lieutenant Grady in the back. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause just for giving time. Real. And I want you to know tonight that the topic is heavy. But if we're going to transform what is happening in our community, we have to take a deep dive into topics that make us uncomfortable, that are hard, so that we can reach our youth. So I appreciate the community members that are here tonight. We do want you to know that tonight our event is being recorded because those families that may not have wanted to get back out because of weather, we're going to make sure that they have access to this very, very important information. So tonight, I want to kick off this event with the one and only Rich Lockhart, who is, there we go, who is the Chief of Police, and I'll go back to those slides here when we get to our panels, who is the Chief of Police of Lawrence Police Department. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Joked all day, being around Dr. Johnson is like being at an old school tent revival. And I want to take her everywhere to introduce me now because she does such a great job doing it. Thank you all for being here tonight. We had a great day with the kids at the high schools, and this situation with fentanyl is so very important to all of us. The fentanyl doesn't care whether you're white or black, rich, poor, old, young. The saying we've been using all day is one pill can kill. And so you'll hear that repeated throughout the night. I got back from our tour of the high schools and I was looking at my news clips and I found this article. Carrollton, Texas had 10 overdoses in their school district, 3 deaths. And they arrested a 22-year-old drug dealer who had recruited high school kids to sell pills to the other high school kids. 10 overdoses, 3 deaths. And that's at a high school or a district just outside of Dallas. And that could be Lawrence. We don't want it to be Lawrence. We work very hard to keep your kids safe in school. But what's most important is that you all have these conversations with your kids as well. I've got 2 high schoolers, and I worry about them every day. I've got one at KU. I worry about him every day. They're not kids that would normally take drugs, but I read another news article about a young man. He was an Eagle Scout, didn't do drugs, was very engaged at school, great student. He bought what he thought were 3 Percocet off of Snapchat, and he took one and he died. And, you know, it's tragic, but this stuff can happen because our kids just don't know how dangerous this stuff is. So we educated them today. Dr. J got them all fired up, and probably won't do that with you tonight. It'll be a little bit lower key. That's true. That's true. If you know Mama J, as they call her, she can get into preacher mode pretty quick. But in all seriousness, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. And you've got some really great presenters coming, so I will not delay that anymore. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Chief Lockhart. What is the theme for tonight? One pill can do what? One pill can kill. I drive up and down 70 every single day, and when I get almost to the Legends, there's a sign and a billboard that's just been added, and it catches my attention every single morning. One pill can kill. And there's a picture of a young man, and my heart just drops. Because I say to myself, what could we have done? He wasn't a student from here, but what could we have done as a society? Because each one has to teach one to save that student. That is so very important. I've already laid down my clicker, so I'm going back to get it. So next on our agenda, we have our Special Agent in Charge, FBI Kansas City Division, and this is Charles Dayoub. We are so honored, once again, that he has spent this entire day with us, unwavering, completely focused on saving lives. So at this time, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Again, then Chief Lockhart, thank you for the partnership putting this together and the partnership between the FBI and Lawrence Police Department, as well as our other law enforcement officers and partnerships. So this has been a great day. Honestly, we haven't done anything like this. I'll tell you, I haven't done anything like this, getting in front of so many students on this specific topic of fentanyl, but I think it is very important to do so. So I'm from the FBI Kansas City office. I head that office. We cover all of Kansas and about 70% of Missouri. And then we have our St. Louis office that covers east part of Missouri. So to take time off today to be with the chief, the DA, the officers, KBI, KHP, I think was really important to message to the students just to show that we care, right? This is more about just a law enforcement action. It's about to let them know that this is a crisis that we're involved in. Just a statistic we told them, I want you to hear. So students around their age in high school, we have 71% of those kids that age that die of overdose die of fentanyl, right? So almost 2/3 that kill kids that age are dying because of fentanyl overdoses. That's unacceptable, right? Unacceptable for us to continue that way. So we need to do something about it. We need to partner together. The FBI, kind of our role, right, from a national and international perspective, is to work with the Lawrence Police Department, with KBI, KHP, DEA, you name it, to go after those who are selling, distributing, and transporting fentanyl into this country and really across the world. But I think we got to do more of that, and we need your engagement with the students to do that. I think it is important. I have 4 kids of my own. It is important to be engaged with them. A lot of what we're seeing now is not simply that people are taking fentanyl because they want to take fentanyl. They're taking it and they don't know they are taking it, and it's becoming deadly. They are too young. There's too much in their future for them to lose their life on something like this. So I think we just got to continue to educate them and work with all of you and our partners to go after this drug and try to prevent it. But from the law enforcement perspective, we can only do so much. We can only arrest so many people. We really need you and our kids to go after being knowledgeable about it, telling teachers, yourselves, law enforcement when they come across it, so that we can try to help them. And then you'll hear this theme. The key is to keep them safe, keep them alive, right? The law enforcement action is secondary. It's to get in front of the kids so they know that this is dangerous. So it's been an honor today. Honestly, it's been awesome. And I've been out of the office all day, which is amazing for me. I don't usually get that. So thank you for having us, and I appreciate it. And I'll turn it over back to Dr. Johnson.
All righty. Thank you so much. Give it up for him one more time. 1% That's frightening. The only way that we can change that number is if we work together. We're taking those steps tonight. So next, I would like to bring to the stage, if you will, to the podium, the one and the only. I call him very special because his job is more than just what it says there on the screen tonight, and you will hear that information. We have FBI Task Force Officer Mark Ingholm that is going to bring it home for us today. Come on down right now. You got it, you got it. Come on, come on. Come on, give him just a little bit more because he's come a long way these last few weeks.
So, yeah, that's the slide that's up there in the picture. You're like, what does the Super Bowl have to do with fentanyl? Well, that's just a reminder and actually the excuse of you dealing with me. I am on day 18 without a day off. I just got back from working the Super Bowl. And as soon as I'm done with you folks, I'm taking a 4-day weekend. So this is my last, you were the obstacle between me and the door on this, so we'll get through this. No, I am a task force officer with the FBI. I've been assigned on loan to the FBI for the last 9 years. By career, I am a Kansas State trooper. I've been a trooper for quite a while, but those last 9 years working with the FBI and working within the FBI on counterterrorism and then also weapons of mass destruction. The reason they brought me in or asked me to speak to you folks and to the students is because one of the things that I do is I go out and I teach first responders about the dangers of fentanyl and all the different parts of it, because a lot of them don't understand and they're coming into it. Our troopers, as you'll see later in the presentation, our troopers are going and searching cars. They're finding an unknown powder. They're cutting into a seat. They're finding something. They're getting this powder on them. We have had troopers who have gone down from fentanyl. All our troopers now carry Narcan as self-rescue because they're coming across it on our highways in bulk amounts. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Go ahead. Oh, I guess I don't have to do that this time. I got used to having someone push the button for me, though. I just, all right. So obviously, we're probably familiar with, and this is much better than talking to the students today, because you guys have like a different view of things than they do. They have grown up basically in a whole time when fentanyl has been an issue. You and I remember when fentanyl really wasn't. We didn't have this problem. We had the traditional drugs, which were more our cannabis. We had heroin. We had those sort of things, methamphetamine, right? But the overdose rates of those are very, very different than fentanyl. And we just never had that come across. So this just gives you some ideas of what the DEA saw in 2019 is the different types of drugs that are out there and were most seized and then tested in their laboratories. It just kind of gives you an idea of what the flavor is this year on that sort of thing. I will tell you that when you get down to fentanyl, you'll see 8.67%. If I would have gone back 4 or 5 years, that would have probably been 0. It has been amazing, the rise in this. So generally, we had those kind of natural-based drugs. They were not made by man. They were something that we harvested, right? So, like, for example, where does our heroin come from? What plant do we derive that from? From poppies, right? But fentanyl is synthetic. It is completely man-made. It is something that comes out of a chemistry experiment, basically, that these folks are making, and they follow a recipe and they make it. But you can kind of see in these graphs where you see the change, where we're seeing some of those more, those types of drugs that we traditionally saw are kind of on a downturn, and we're seeing this rise in synthetics. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but really it comes down to money. Remember, the folks that are making these drugs aren't doing it for fun, they're doing it for profit. And the most profit they can get out of something is they don't have to go out and have a field. They don't have to go out and harvest something and nurture it. If they can just go into a lab and throw some chemicals together and throw a product out that's effective, then they're going to do that. This one is very telling. And this is the latest I get. I tried to get newer data. Unfortunately, with COVID and everything else, it usually takes a few years for the data to catch up. So this is as of 2018. But what you're seeing there in that blue line that just takes off out of nowhere and goes up, that's where we find our synthetic opioids, basically fentanyl. And those are the overdose rates. And you can kind of see how those have changed over time. But that's huge. All right. So when I was talking to the kids, I kind of break it down a little bit more about what's the difference between these pills that they're seeing sold and what their doctor prescribes them, right? So what the point of this was kind of go through and talk with them and say, when a doctor prescribes something, that's a medication or that's come from a drug company that is established, that is run by scientists, that is a very exacting method in a clean, very clean process. They're very careful not to cross-contaminate. So if they're manufacturing acetaminophen this week and they're doing ibuprofen next week, they make sure that those two things aren't mixed together in the process, right? And there are rigid controls in place for quality control after that comes off. You know, if you're taking a pill that says it's 200 milligrams of ibuprofen, it's 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. And if you take that day after day after day, you're going to get the same effect. Fair? Okay. On the clandestine side, where we're seeing this come out of, none of that exists. This is actually a picture on the right. It was a fentanyl lab that was broken up by Mexican authorities. Just kind of gives you the idea of the difference between those processes. People who are very uneducated, they are following a written list of, hey, put thing A into thing B and heat it and then do this. They have no idea what the process really is or what it's doing. And they don't know what happens if they get their mixtures off, right? So they end up with a varying degree of product that gets shipped out. They don't care. All they care about is getting that product out the door and sent off, okay? So fentanyl. Obviously, fentanyl has real uses, and if there's anyone here in the medical profession, it does. I mean, for people who are in chronic pain or end-of-life type things, it is valid. It is a treatment. But like a lot of good things, it's been badly misused, and now it's being produced in these clandestine labs. So just to give you some ideas here, I threw some pictures up. These are actually fentanyl seizures by the Kansas Highway Patrol in the last year. So you see the one that says 54 there? Those silver-looking packages on the left, those are kilos of fentanyl. The ones on the right are kilos of methamphetamine, and those were taken out of the same load, just to give you an idea. So there's a lot of it going on. So 116 pounds is what Kansas Highway Patrol seized last year, to give you an idea. And that can be varying strengths, and it can be in solution. It can be a lot of different things. But just doing some basic math on that, that's roughly 26 million lethal doses of fentanyl. And they're making seizures of 100 pounds or more every day down on the border. Border Patrol does all the time. So it's very, very prevalent. When I was talking in Phoenix, I was talking with Phoenix Fire Department. It is much cheaper for them to buy some of these M30 pills or whatever else, the blues, on the street. They're going for $1 to $3 for a pill. So unfortunately, what that's doing is it's actually forcing some people away from the valid ways because they can get this drug that they think is going to help them cheaper on the street, but they're accepting this risk that they don't really know what they're getting. There are two waves of fentanyl. You guys may kind of remember this. Again, it's refreshing to talk to an adult audience on this than the kids. I actually just kind of flipped through these. But there have been kind of two waves. And the first one was actually due to one individual chemist down in Mexico. And we saw a huge growth, and this is about 2005, 2007, and many overdose deaths. And they were able to go in, find his lab, and stop him. And he is in U.S. prison today. However, the cartels and other people took note of his successes, how much money he made, not how many people he killed, and it's grown since then. So the next one has been about 2013 to present, and basically it works like this. Countries such as China and India, they mass produce the precursors for these drugs. They ship them over they may make them in their own country and ship them over by mail. You can order them off a dark web, something like that. They can be shipped over and smuggled in the United States or Canada and then in the United States. But most of them are coming over as raw materials that are coming over as precursors, shiploads into Mexico, and then are going into laboratory setups there where the fentanyl is being produced and then smuggled into the United States. There are two ways of doing that. Sometimes it's pilled actually at the site where it's done, but generally it's easier for them to move the bulk product to a location. Let's say I'm a drug dealer in Chicago and I want to move my product, this fentanyl, up there. It's going to be a lot easier for me to smuggle a kilo of the raw product than it is for me to take, tens of thousands of pills. So I'll create another lab set up somewhere, an intermediate lab, a pilling lab, in which I'll actually cut the product and move it into and make the pills and then go out and distribute them. So this is one of the points that even law enforcement really struggles with. Fentanyl is not one thing. Fentanyl, when we talk about it, actually is more than 1,400 different identified mixtures, analogs, okay? So depending on how it's produced, depending on what chemicals they use, depending on many different factors, it can have many different outcomes of what actually gets up here. And as you can see here, some of those are fairly moderate, and some of those are extremely, extremely strong. So even when fentanyl is sent up to the United States or sold to our children, they know it's fentanyl. They may have taken it before and it didn't have much of an effect, or it didn't hurt them. But this time it's maybe another analog that they've never come across, and it's something that's going to be fatal. So to give you an idea, this is just for looking at the middle there, just basic fentanyl. The basic, what we would call the middle of the road fentanyl. That is what a lethal dose looks like, around 2 milligrams. Of course, that all is dependent on a person's body mass and their chemistry and whether they've been taking other drugs or alcohol with it. There's a lot of things that come into that, right? So the one on the right, though, that's a carfentanil. Carfentanil is one of those analogs I talked to that's many, many, many times more effective. You can see how little of that we're getting into, like a lethal dose, compared to what you would see for actually a lethal dose of heroin to your left. Okay, so they make these counterfeit pills. They're out there a lot. DEA has done some studies. They estimate about 30% of the pills that are being sold out there are counterfeit, that are being made. And that's probably on the low end, I'd say. But yeah, I think so too. But that's what they found. And what they found was when they went in and tested those pills, those counterfeit pills, 2 out of 5 of those usually had lethal doses, or what they would consider lethal amounts of fentanyl in them. Kind of get across that. So, and I will kind of close up my portion with several things. But first of all, this is an ongoing and kind of a newer side that's very concerning to us, because what's our magic? What can we do to stop a fentanyl overdose? We have Narcan or naloxone, right? And we know that that's a very effective tool, and as the chief mentioned, or will mention at some point, the number of overdoses that they've had in Lawrence versus the number of deaths is a huge difference, because you have a good medical system in place. You have law enforcement that has Narcan with them. You have the paramedics. You have that care in place, right? But we're seeing with the xylazine, xylazine is a veterinary sedative. It's something they would sedate your dog with, right? It is not a human drug. And so it is not regulated like human drugs. It's not a Schedule I narcotic or anything like that. And what we're finding is that we didn't even realize it, actually, because it's not something that we as in law enforcement test for normally, because it's not something humans should have in them. But when they started realizing that it was out there and it was being used, Philadelphia went back and reran all the tests for their overdoses for a year and found that 44% of their fatal overdoses had this xylazine in their system with the fentanyl. So the problem is the Narcan, because that's a sedative and not an opioid, The Narcan only is effective with the opioid, with the fentanyl. It can't do anything about the sedative. So it really knocks back the effectiveness of the Narcan, and is a very big concern for us right now as to how that plays out and what's out there. Again, it's all about money. It's cheap to get, it's easy to get, they can throw it in there. They don't have to use as much fentanyl, they can make it last longer as they're selling it. So it's all about the money. All right, so today I did a little demonstration with the kids, and it's something that I actually do with first responders. They seem to like little hands-on stuff. So I kind of came up with a little demonstration here, and what I do is I talk about how they go about making pills and kind of the chaos theory that we get out of it. So what I have here is a milligram of fentanyl. Oh, it looks like a Hershey's peanut butter cup, I know. But for our purposes, it's a milligram of fentanyl. So they're going to pour that into their mixing container, which can come in many different sizes. We've seen them use actual tabletop mixers. We've seen them use the little, like the home version of the cement mixers you can buy. We've seen them use many different things. But what they're going to do is just take that, and 99% of what they're going to have in there is actually just some sort of filler material, something inert, right, that just takes the place. And it's going to go in, just like many of our pills are, right? So they're going to do that. They come in here, they mix it up. And they mix it over time and mix it, whatever else. But in the end, what they do is they're just going to take their scoop, put it into whatever container or pill it's going to be, and then that's what they get. Okay, that's what goes out as their product. It's not tested, again. We're not having anyone who's actually going through, there's no quality control making sure that each of these has the right number of milligrams, or that they're properly mixing it between those. Those of you who are chemists and everything else know what the problem with this sort of way of doing it would be and how to properly do it. I'm not going to give those answers, but the problem is these folks are uneducated. They think it's just like the days of cocaine, where you just cut the cocaine with whatever and you shipped it out, and they're doing the same thing. So what I have here, if I could have 8 volunteers from the audience. Want to step up here for my demonstration? I'd really appreciate it.
Come on down.
Come on down. Come on to my side here. Grab yourself a paper bag and step down the table there. So I made these up just for time's sake. I made these up beforehand. I need 3 more. 3 more volunteers. 3 more. Don't make me get Mama J out there getting people. All right. Okay, I think we've got it. All right. So go ahead and step up to the table there. What I'd like you to do is go ahead and you can open your bags and pour out the contents. All right. So we're going to start off here. First person. How many milligrams did you end up with?
0.
0. So this is a person who's not very happy about the product that they just bought, right? Because they bought their product, they paid their $1 or $3 or whatever it is, and they didn't get any high, right? Okay, how about you?
3.
3. So we have an overdose, right? So hopefully we have some folks around that care about you and see you do that and get you to medical treatment, right? What do we got here?
4.
Okay. Another problem, right? We have another overdose and more. And so it takes more and more of the Narcan to knock that back. And that was one of the things we also talked to the kids about is even though Narcan, some of it is getting out into the community and people can carry it and have it, they need to understand that that's a Band-Aid, that that's a short-term answer. Because what they'll see, if you've ever been around anyone who's had this, is they will sit right up and they are suddenly 100% not high at all, and they look like, it's amazing the transformation, right? But there's a short period of time that's going to be effective, depending on the dose they've had. So we were talking about how important it is that they then get to medical treatment. They do call 911. They get to a hospital, because just that first little dose, if they think that's going to save them, it isn't. Okay, what do we got? We already did yours. Okay. 1. So we're down to, you got something, but maybe not what you were looking for, right? Also 1, okay. 0.
2.
2. 1. Okay. Does everyone kind of get the point of that then? We can kind of look at just that chaos theory of how this material goes out. Of course, we're talking in powders. I didn't want to come up here and start mixing a bunch of powder up in the room. I think people would get a little upset with that, and it tends to get all over the volunteers' hands and that sort of thing. Thank you for volunteering. You may take your candy if you wish. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us come today and speak with your kids and speak with you. I think this is really important to do. So, Doc?
I love it. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for our volunteers. Information that was very heavy. But again, we're educating to ensure that we are preventing deaths. What is our theme tonight? One pill can do what? Can kill. Tonight, next on our program, we have what I like to refer as two of the most important people in our district. They are 2 of 6 school resource officers. These individuals we partner with, we walk beside, they keep us informed. I love the fact that they share their contact information so you can reach out to them if something's going on, if you see something, say something. And most importantly, they take time to build the relationships with students, because everything that we do in education is built upon relationships. And these 2 individuals are experts in this area. So please help me welcome Corporals Wiltz and Corporal Collado.
So, Sergeant Fenley here is going to do me a favor. He's going to make sure that I speak into the mic because I have a problem. So if you see me look over to the side from time to time, it's just to make sure that I'm still on point. With that being said, my name is Corporal Amori Collado, and I'll let Corporal Casey here.
Casey Wiltz. I'm at Free State High School.
And I'm at the Better High School LHS. That's why I did that.
Tough up for that, I think.
But on a serious note, we're here, we're all here for the same thing, right? What do we care about? Our kids. And I say our kids because we spend 8 hours a day with them. They're our kids too. So as we speak, we're going to, discuss, show you a few things that we do and what our role is in drug prevention in the school. Because we're in there 8 hours a day.
We're also going to talk about our discretion that we have when we're in the schools as far as the police work is concerned. And then we're going to talk about partnerships that we have in the community that helps us do our job. So first we'll talk about some Lawrence drug statistics. So we wanted to tell the kids today that drug overdoses, they're the leading cause of deaths in the United States. Motor vehicle accidents are second, but these young people need to understand that it's here, it's happening, and it's real. So that's a record 70,000 deaths in the U.S. in 2020, and the fentanyl crisis was just starting. So you can only imagine where we're at now. 70,000 is 1 every 8 minutes. Every 8 minutes. So at Free State High School, this happens. We have overdoses at Free State quite frequently. So they need to know that, hey, we're here to help them. If they need Narcan, it's in our office. The nurses have Narcan in their offices. If you know somebody that's dealing, if you see marijuana, vape cartridges, pills, something that looks suspicious, you're not going to get in trouble if you come tell us what's going on. In the last 2 months, I've had 2 kids come talk to me about people that are dealing at Free State. It's real. This is an educational tool for us to let them know that we're here to help. We are a resource for them. Mark talked about fentanyl being synthetic. And so what that does is it overloads your receptors and just shuts down your breathing. So we told the kids, hey, what you want to look for is an unconscious person, not breathing. They might be gasping for air because they're just starting to lose their breath. They have a rapid heartbeat, vomit, loss of bladder control. We told the kids today, you could take a pill in the morning during passing period, go to the restroom, and not come out all day. We want to remind them, check on each other, right? Check on your friends. Check on your kids. Text your kids throughout the day. Hey, how you guys doing? How's class? Are you going to class? Are you going to lunch? Are you skipping? What are you doing? Check on them, because this stuff is happening in the schools. Like I said, Narcan's available. We have it. Happy to give it out. Happy to give it out. The statistics for Lawrence, 2018, we had 3 overdose deaths. 3. And in the next 2 years, we doubled that at 6. And then we got to 2021, and we had 25 deaths. 16 of those involved fentanyl. And you'll see that 2022, we only had 13. Why do you think that is? Narcan. Everybody started carrying Narcan. So we had 94 ODs, but only 13 deaths. So it's not a bad idea to get some Narcan. I know we talked earlier today that they're going to try to sell it over the counter. Not a bad idea to have some. I don't know how much it's going to be. I know nothing about that, but all of our officers carry Narcan. If they use it, they send us an email and we get them one before they go out on their next shift. So we have them. The fire department has them. That's what we're there for.
So I like to start with speaking about what we do in the schools. Our goal is education. And I mean that it is not our goal as SROs to introduce your children into the criminal justice system. It's to do quite the opposite. That is not the priority. Because what we've noticed as we're walking the halls with the kids is it's an iceberg. This problem that you see, there may be something below the surface that if we can remedy that, everything above it goes with it. So awareness, and Corporal Wiltz spoke on that, is you need to make your children aware. You need to be aware. You know, if you see a shift in the way your child's behaving, you need to dig into that. The same way, if I see a child that I interact with every day and I see a change, maybe I'll strike up a conversation. So prevention starts in the home and it continues in the school, but it takes vigilance, not only from us, but from you. And as we told the kids today at the schools, them, who knows, they know each other better, no offense, guys. And probably you know them because they spend so much time together. And they divulge things to each other that they don't tell you. But you need to be vigilant. So alternative solution methods, and we'll touch on it here in a second. Arrest, you know, the arrest is not the goal. That is not the goal. That is a result. Now, am I going to say that I may, you know, I'm not going to arrest 100% of the time? No. But that is not what I set out to do. What I set out to do is my job. I am a resource to the school, and I'm a resource to my department. I am a bridge. And the most important thing we do is relationship building. I love my kids. I call them my kids. I mean, 4 years ago when I started, I would not say that. But fast forward 4 years, I am as much a Chesty Lion as the class that came in with me in 2019. Fun fact, that was the first year I met Dr. Johnson there when she was the principal, incoming. Also, fun fact, that is the last class that saw the rotunda as they came in, because that's gone. But I digress. But it's relationship building. My goal, her goal, I want to be a trusted adult in that building. I want to build a relationship to the point where I'm no longer Officer Collado. They'll drop the officer and just call me Collado like the rest of my coworkers do, because that's what I want. I want them to look at me the same way they look at a teacher, security, social worker. I don't want this uniform to be what they see. I want to be a trusted adult. And officer discretion, this is what allows us to kind of cater our policing to kids. I cannot police in a school through the lens of a 38-year-old when I am interacting with a 15-year-old. Not only is that not fair, but it's not going to work. They don't perceive the world as I do. I have 20 years experience beyond theirs. My job is not to use that experience against them, but it's to guide them. And if I can't solve the issue, as you can see behind me, I have many friends that can. Many friends, and some friends out there in the stands too. But officer discretion, that's what allows us to do what we do in the schools. Without officer discretion, I don't think we could exist, because it allows me to solve the problem, not just the symptom.
And this goes back to making sure they know they're not going to get in trouble, right? That's why we want to be that trusted adult. If we saw them on the street, they're going to get different treatment than they are in the school. We want to know, hey, where'd you get that pill? We want to make sure that that pill's not coming from somebody else, like the chief's article that he read. We want to make sure that that's not coming from somebody else and other kids in the school are getting it, and then we're going to have a problem on our hands. So we're truly just trying to keep the kids safe. We only can do that because of the partnership that we have with the school district. It is I told the kids today, they're extremely lucky, and I don't think they know it, to have police officers in their schools. And the school district has to allow us in their schools, and the police department has to give us up to be in the schools. So it's because of our chief of police and the school district that we have this working relationship, and we're here talking to you about how to keep your kids safe. There's some other Engage Douglas County. I'll let them talk about what they do. DACA does suicide prevention, and then law enforcement. We can reach out to law enforcement agencies in the state, like KHP, and find out what's coming into Kansas, so we know what to tell these kids and how to keep them safe. I'll let Collado introduce our team.
The big boss back there is Lieutenant Myron Grady. I believe SRO of the year, what year? 2011 as well. I do. Yeah, we care. And Corporal Wiltz is over at Free State. I'm over at LHS. Corporal Dean Kempenen's over at Liberty Memorial. Officer Lindsay Bishop's over at West. Officer Browning is over at Billy Mills. And last but not least, Officer Salisbury is over at Southwest. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. These are our kids too. And I don't say that lightly. The only way I want these kids leaving my building is through graduation. That is it. I don't want them leaving any other way. So thank you for your time, and I will kick it on back.
A glimpse today, what we have an opportunity to experience every single day, and the importance of our partnerships and the importance of the relationships that we build. One of the things that's so important is the fact that these two individuals change lives every day. And it's exciting to watch. It's been exciting. I'm going to say this. Collado doesn't know I'm going to say this. It's been exciting to see how the students has transformed him. He came in tough. And I knew that he was a straight shooter when power went out, when he first came in. And I'm walking down the hallway, and I have my flashlight. They teased me because I'm a safety fanatic. And he said, is that a flashlight? Is that a candle? What? I thought, he doesn't know me. He's criticizing me. Who is this person, I'm not even sure what his name is here, and he just started. But, he even knew then that I'm about business. So now I carry around my special flashlight, courtesy of Officer Collado. It's what the other officers carry. And every day, every single day, I always have my flashlight with me. But children, they're not there just for us to change their lives. They change our lives, which is why my nickname is Mama J. Officer Collado will never call me, but that's okay. It's okay. He made it clear, you are Dr. Johnson. Oh, I'm good with that. But again, it's about the relationships and things that we can do to change. What is our theme one more time? One pill can kill. No enthusiasm in there at all. Repeat after me, one pill can kill. I need you to roll with me. One pill can kill. One more time, one pill can kill. If you remember nothing else that we are sharing tonight, take that home with you. When you look at your children, when you look around the spaces where they sleep, when you look at their rooms, I know you think, well, they're 15 to 16, I'm not gonna go in their rooms. Yes, I am. I just wanna see. I don't even care if they're away at college. Go into the dorms, go into their apartments. Because there's things around that will tell stories that maybe you may not know when you are not there. That one pill can kill is going to be illustrated with our next guest. So we have our district attorney, once again, has been with us all day long. I know there's a lot that's going on in courts, but it was important for her to be here. And then we also have our deputy district attorney, did I say it right? Joshua Seiden. So at this time, I don't know which one's coming first. Okay, come on down. Make her feel welcome, we love it.
Is that on?
Yes.
I have a loud voice anyway. Thank you for being here, parents, and all the law enforcement staff that came back tonight. This is a picture of my brother and myself, and it's my only brother, and he passed away 3 years ago from an accidental fentanyl overdose. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to share a little bit. I shared this story with your kids, and I did it in this way. One, having many children myself, I know that my kids were brought up together, and they found each other annoying. Certainly I found my brother annoying, even as we grew through our lives, but I loved him dearly, and I know my kids love each other dearly. The other thing we talked about was friends, and how, I think we've mentioned this earlier, that our kids spend a lot of time with their friends. They're at that age where their kids are more important than their parents and their siblings. So I try to really get them to think about caring for each other, caring for your annoying siblings, and all those things, all those people that matter to you at this age, because it really is critical that they be vigilant and that they be aware of what's happening in our community. So my brother, this is my only brother. He's 2 years younger than I am. This is the last photo we took together in May of 2019. It was Mother's Day. And we grew up in Arizona. Like I said, a younger brother. He is 100 times smarter than me, and certainly had a great sense of humor, so definitely funnier than I was. I was definitely the more serious of the two siblings, much more of a control freak. Now I have this job, so you can see why I ended up here. But he served in the U.S. Army, and he served honorably. He was with the Airborne Division and served in the Desert Storm War, the ground war. He came back from that very different. He was diagnosed with PTSD, started drinking, had a horrible alcohol problem. He married his high school sweetheart, ended up having 6 children, and ended up in divorce. And just all through his life, I was the one that would get the call in the middle of the night. I was the one that would get him out of jail. I was the one that was always his steady person. It seems like towards this, when we get to this point in 2019, he's finally kind of come out of it. He's a very, very talented electrician, a high voltage electrician in Phoenix, was training his younger sons. They were apprenticing with him. And he was also training a lot of young Hispanic boys in high schools, trying to get them to learn how to learn a trade. So he had all of these wonderful talents. He had horrible back pain as a result of kind of kneeling around and being under things and putting wires together. And he had great care at the Veterans Association, or at the Veterans Administration in Phoenix. And he just didn't go get his prescription for some pain medication. He also had hypertension, so he was on some of those meds. So when he passed away, originally we thought he had died of a stroke or a heart attack, because his roommate that he was living with, another gentleman, came home that evening, and Chris was sitting in his recliner watching football or something, and looked like he was asleep. As it turns out, we didn't know what had happened. This is 2019 in Phoenix. We buried him. I took control of the situation, took care of my nieces and nephews, my parents. And it wasn't until 2 months later that, and I was working with law enforcement, they had found some pills when they went in, once the call was made that there was a 911 call. And they got those tested. There was fentanyl in those drugs, and then there was also fentanyl in his blood system. It was an accidental overdose. We think he bought according to my nephew who worked with him as an apprentice, said, on these construction sites, people were just selling this stuff. So I know he didn't intend to die. I know it was an accident. And the reason I tell this story is because this is a tragedy beyond, I never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever have to go through something like this. I don't want anyone else to go through something like this. This problem is across, it's not a black problem, it's not a white problem, it's not a poor problem, it's not a rich problem, it's everyone's problem. And we have got to really come together as a law enforcement, of course, team, but also community to make sure our kids are safe. So I'm going to wrap up here by saying a couple things. One, I think the theme today with all of our students, who I care very deeply about, our young people, because they're our future, is to give a message that we don't want, this isn't about being in trouble, right? This is about taking care of each other. This is about, that's all I asked of them. These are the things that you need to be aware of. Take care of your friends. Take care of your siblings. Those are the things. Be vigilant. Be aware. Don't take anything. Don't smoke anything. Anything that you don't know where it's coming from can be very, very dangerous and risky. It's like playing roulette. The other thing I want to say is leave it to us up here to go after the dealers of death, and that's really what these people are. These people don't care. They want to make money. As you've heard tonight, they're concocting this stuff out of cement mixers. And they're making money off of people dying. So let us go after those people. That's what we're doing. We're working with the distributors, we're working with the dealers, but the people who are affected by this, the people who end up taking something that they shouldn't, we don't want them. This isn't about that. We want them to be okay, and we want them to live fulfilled lives, graduate from high school, and be a part of our community. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Deputy Joshua Seiden. He's the one that's kind of the managing attorney in our office. He can give you some stats on the increase of the drug cases that we're seeing, how we're charging them, and a little bit of the philosophy on why we're charging them. I will say that state law has not really kept up with how we go about doing these charging decisions. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, but we're doing the best we can. We've got great partners that we work with every day to ensure the safety of your children and to hold those accountable who are dealing death. So, thank you.
Well, evening, folks, and thanks everybody for being here. And so, as the district attorney was just saying, who we're really concerned about when we're prosecuting these cases is the death merchants. And the additional thing is, as the district attorney was just talking about, it's not about getting in trouble. And as the other speakers were talking about, watch out for your friends. You want the kids to watch out for their friends. And so, in the district attorney's office, the way that we prosecute these matters, there's a charge. Distribution of a controlled substance resulting in death. That's the same severity level as second-degree murder. And so what happens in those situations are we will exercise prosecutorial discretion in who we go after with those charges. We speak with our partners over primarily at the Lawrence Police Department who investigates those cases, because what we're not trying to do is, for instance, if there were a situation in which there were a couple of people that were using these drugs together. They're using the same drugs, and then one of the people dies. We're not trying to then charge the other person who does not die with homicide. That's not the situation. We're going after the death merchants in these cases, and it's a charge that we use sparingly. In the district attorney's office, DA Valdez took office in 2021 in January. But to give you an idea of how often this charge is filed, it's not very often. 2018, there was one charge filed for this offense. 2019, there were 0 times. 2020, there were 0 times. We filed this charge 5 times in 2021 and then 8 times in 2022. And so that's what we're doing to combat it, is we're looking at going after the serious dealers, people that are indeed the death merchants. As far as people that are addicted to these substances or maybe experimenting with these substances, we have robust programming such as diversion, drug court, behavioral health court for people that need assistance getting those services. We also rely on community partners for those services. DECA is engaged in that programming, Burt Nash. And so what we're trying to do is offer rehabilitation through our office to people that need the rehabilitation, but then we want to exercise our prosecutorial resources on the people that are truly bringing this poison into the community and into the schools. So that's what our philosophy is on those matters. It's not about trying to lock up everybody that we can. It's about trying to find solutions to the problem that we're all dealing with. So thank you, folks.
I know that you have questions, because I know you have questions. And as I see many people are writing, I just want you to know here in just a few minutes, you're going to have an opportunity to ask those questions. We're going to open the floor. So if there's something that you brought with you that you would like an answer to, we're going to be able to supply those answers and things for you tonight. So our next speaker represents one of the most important partnerships that we have with our school district. And this is our partnership with Engage Douglas County and DECA. As you see, it says improving lives. And I've been in this community now for 4 years, and every single event, every single training, whether it's Mental Health 101, whether it's our sources of strength, it has truly improved lives. So at this time, please welcome Chrissy Mayer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for a little bit of time tonight. You've heard a lot of information, and I guess I want to give you some solutions of here's some things you can do, some tangible items that you can do. You've heard a lot about naloxone and Narcan. DECA will provide that to you for free. All you have to do is go to our website, and if you just search DECA naloxone, that will pop up, and there is an online order form. We will ship it directly to your home free of charge. Just this week, we send kits on Wednesday. We sent over 1,000 kits to the state of Kansas. We had 40 requests just in Douglas County alone this week. So there's definite need, and people are trying to gain access. So that's one thing you can do. Additionally, if you have unused opioids in your home, I mean, how many folks have, had their wisdom teeth removed or had a surgery, something like that? Even the opioids that are prescribed that you're not using, get rid of them. And so we have lots of options for safe medication disposal. We have medication disposal bags that you can order on our website as well. We'll send those to your house, and you can safely dispose of those. There's also a variety of disposal locations in our pharmacies at LMH, Jayhawk Pharmacy, and also at the Public Safety Office downtown as well. So those are 2 ways that that's something very tangible you can do. You can request the naloxone every week if you'd like. We don't have a limit. Obviously, it's limited by funding, but right now our supply is pretty decent, and so we want to make sure that you're getting that into your homes and getting that to people who need it as well. Additionally, if you're unsure about administering naloxone, how to do that, we do naloxone training as well. It's really easy. It's It's basically like nose spray. If you use Flonase or something like that for seasonal allergies, same idea. But it is critical that then you call EMS because, as mentioned earlier, it's a really short temporary fix to get someone breathing again. But those are just a few quick ways. You can also visit engagedouglascounty.org to get some resources for how to talk to your kids about substance use, about suicide, and some of those resources as well. Because sometimes that can be a really difficult conversation to have. And so we're trying to provide a lot of resources that make that a little bit easier on parents and other family members. So that is all I have.
I know, Chrissy, that somebody's going to come back and ask a question about those lists of resources and things that you just shared. Once again, I saw lots of people writing, people going out and getting paper and pen because they want to be able to have these resources in their in their family homes. How powerful it is to know that you can request these items and they're sent to you. How much does it cost? Absolutely free. Saving lives, absolutely free. So thank you once again.